Hi, everybody. This is Julissa. Thank you so much for coming back to my podcast. Thank you so much, guys. Miss Elias. Wednesday night, March 16, 2022. I want to come here real quick and do the final episode for this for my first season recording. I guess you can say my first time doing podcasts. And I just want to say, coming up soon, I'm going to be doing video podcasts and they're going to be published on Spotify. So be in the lookout for that. And also, if you haven't subscribed yet, please follow me also on the YouTube channel. You can look me up by Julissa Designs. And as you know, Julissa is with double two S's and designs with the S at the end. But once you find look for me, you're gonna see the logo and you know it's me. Thank you guys again so much for coming back and listening to my podcast. I even God put this in my heart to speak to you guys about because I think that a lot of the times we want something, right? And we are so we think that everybody think like us. I said in my previous episodes that a lot of the times we think the same goals that we have for life is the same thing that people are also looking for. Um, and that could be many things, not just career. It could be marriage. It could be buying a house and things like that, and cars. And let me tell you, like not everybody's looking forward to buying a house. But and people will say like, how come you're not? But that's everybody has different desires, and we always assume that people have are after the same goal, but they're not. And I think that we lose a lot of friendships and relationships because we base we project on people what they think. I mean, what we think or what we would have done in that situation instead of thinking for 1 second that we are all made different, right? And we're after different goals. And no matter how much you think in your head, oh, how can they not want this? How can they not want that? Like everybody's made different. Imagine, like, thank God that He made us all different. I think that, you know, thank God. Imagine us having the same taste, the same like, and the same look. That's crazy. So we're so uniquely made, made in the image of Christ. And I think we have to remember that not everybody's after the same goal. And the reason that I'm talking about goals and things like that and desires, I think about the times in my life where I always wanted to do something, for my career, for my business. And a lot of the times we could be spending time in a workplace, I guess you can say, and think that, you know, a position opens up, right? Like, let's say you are at a workplace for a while and a position opens up and you're thinking, oh, everybody's going to say that's for me because how can they not? It's obviously I will be the perfect person for it, the perfect candidate for it. So I'm just going to see what they're going to do. And then they hire somebody from the outside. And there you are feeling all frustrated and disappointed. But if you could have only spoken up and say, hey, I want to apply for that position, I want to do this or the other, maybe that would have given you a better chance than to think that somebody was going to be like, hey, we should give it to this person. Let me tell you something, guys. I had many jobs in my life, and one thing I know for sure that a lot of people are looking out for themselves. You think they're going to be like, and this includes management too. You think they're going to be like, oh, let's, you know, you should get it, this and the other. One thing, I worked for a company for a long time. And one thing that always got to me was the fact that they classify you before you even want to do something. And that when you have companies that they don't even give you a chance, that's the worst place to work for. Okay, I understand we're living in times where people are leaving their jobs and not a lot of people want to go back to the office or they want to change careers, start their new business. And I think that's, if that's what you have to do to just have a better mental health, you got to do what you have to do. Don't think people are going to go and like, if something, a new position opens up in your job, they're going to be reaching out to you. It doesn't really happen like that. Like, you have to show some type of interest. Not everything comes to you. And I think that one thing I learned from myself, right, is that if I find myself complaining about something frequently, if I'm not doing something actively to change it, I am the biggest fool in the room. I cannot complain. Like, let's say, for example, like the other day, I look at my nails and I'm like, I gotta do something about my nails. I don't want to, show my nails anymore. I want them to be longer. So what I did was that I know it always works, right? It's like starting a workout routine. Like, I'm just gonna color them, right? And I'm just gonna color them. That way it will stop me from biting on them, right? And they might look better. So then I've coloring them because I never, I don't do often, but I just color them. And then a couple weeks in, and they started growing, and now they're like growing really nice. And I'm like, you can't expect a change if you're not willing to do anything about it. I feel like a lot of the times we complain about something that we don't like, but we don't do anything about it. And that's the biggest thing, the worst thing that you can do to yourself mentally too. If you are like, you know, if you are like frustrated and going in circles about a situation in your life, do a plan in action, do something, because even the Bible says, you do not have because you don't ask. And I like, we can ask and pray for God to do something, but always remember that faith without works is dead. You know, and I have seen that happen in my life for a long time. Like, when I wanted to do anything, like especially for my business, a lot of it, I don't have like a big budget to do things for my business. I wish I had, but everything comes in God's time, and that's what God does, right? So I think I spoke about in previous episode about wanting the studio. I remember years. I'm like, if I could just have a place where I can just go and work on my stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's how am I gonna even deal with that? And then I imagine, I don't want to open a store. Because I've always felt like I don't want to be locked down to operating business hours. That's how I saw myself. I work in retail for many years, so I feel it so sad to be locked up in a store, especially on a Sunday when the mall is open. You see those people at the kiosk, just sitting there on a beautiful Sunday when people are out and doing things, in the lake or whatever, and you're stuck because you have to follow retail hours. I'm like, there's no way. I don't want to open a store and just be tied down to that schedule. So I was like, I just want a place where I can just showcase my what I do and be able to work on it, come in and out whenever I want. And if I leave a mess because I'm working on something, like, I don't want to hear anybody else coming back and complaining to me, because that's my little space for whatever it is that I do, my studio. And it's been years since I had it. And it's so crazy how, you know, when I first thought about it, in your own head, we create things, this impossibility in our own minds. And when I first saw the place, I mean, I knew the area because they always had concerts in that area. And I remember looking online in the building next to it. I'm like, wow, you you can have a small office and it's not that expensive. I was like, maybe I can do that. And it's so crazy because I looked at the building next to it, and I was like, wow, that's really something to think about. And this was like maybe what, 2010, 2011. I opened the studio in 2014, but it was just like, you know, that's how it started. And I think that I started looking for a place. I'm like, can I really do this? Can I really do this? And then it happened. So I feel like A lot of the times we think that somebody's gonna come and grab us and be like, hey, I was thinking about this opportunity for you. Like that can also happen, don't get me wrong. But if you don't ask for what it is that you want to do, don't expect somebody to like give you an opportunity either. I understand that people like God will put a desire for you to reach out to somebody and be like, hey, I think you'll be the perfect person for this project that I'm working on. I think I think that God does that and that happens, you know. And I have reached out to people too. Like when I first had my fashion show, I reached out to people. I'm like, she would be a great model. And then I'm like, I have never seen her model, but I think she will be the great person for it. And then, I reached out and they're like all excited about it. I'm like, wow. So yeah, opportunities do happen like that. They do come to you also, but a lot of the times, you have to do something. When you want change, you have to do something. And like I was saying before, one thing I learned about myself, if I'm complaining about something on a daily basis, it's not healthy for me to just complain. It could be anything, to just complain and not do anything about it. It's just foolish. If you're complaining that there's something in your job that you don't like, um, you, I like, it comes to a point that you really, like, it doesn't matter. Like, this is your mental health, your well-being. I understand that we have to like stay and like see and give things a chance. But I remember one time I started a project. I started this job, and I was like, it's so crazy because I went through the whole training that it was like a month and a half. This is how crazy it was. I went through the whole training, month and a half, and when I was ready to start, I'm like, I cannot do this, and I'm like, I'm either gonna force myself to show up every day to a place that I don't want to be in and do something that I don't even want to do anymore, to be criticized because this company is huge on feedback. Like they'll feedback even how you say good morning. That's how big they were, right? And then when it came time that I finished the training successfully, like God made it happen. And it kind of like you think about yourself and I'm like, wow, God opened this opportunity now, and it was far away. Like I had to commute for like 45 minutes every day, and I was concerned because it was in the middle of winter and it didn't snow. That was the winter that never snowing. If it snow, it only snow on the weekends, so I didn't have to show up to the place. And I was like, then kind of like you think about it, I'm like, wow, God opened this opportunity because I was looking for one. And then I got the opportunity. I got the salary that I wanted. I got the benefits that I wanted. And, you know, I went through the training for a month and a half. And it didn't make all the concerns that I have about commuting and the snow and all of that. It never had to deal with anything like that. Not even black eyes like in the early morning. Nothing like that. How crazy. I'm like, God is just, He wants me to do this. And then when I was time to show up, I couldn't stand it. Like physically, I was dying. I'm like, I don't, I don't even want to be here. And one thing about people is like when they don't want to be in a place, it shows no matter how much they want to fake it. Okay, and no matter if you're uncomfortable in a place, it shows in your physical body. So when it was time for me to just, you know, I'm like, there was something I think that also triggered me to that. And these people were nice to me, but I didn't like the fact that they put me in this, you know, I show up the first day, right? I went to the first day after finishing training, like in my official title, and we were working on something, and there were like a group of teenagers that also worked there, right? And I just didn't like how they were talking to them. Management, I didn't appreciate how they were talking to them. And I found myself doing something and then like, oh, you don't do that, you're above them, so let them do it. I was like, I don't like how they're talking to them like that. You know, I was saying that to myself. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna stay here. And I have never done this before in my entire life. But I went home that first day after finishing training and showing up, with my official title. And the next morning, I'm like, just go. It's gonna be better. Don't think too much into it. Just go do your job. That's it. Like I was physically shaking. I remember waking up in the middle of the night and I was so sweaty. Like like pay attention to your body too, because you know whatever is going inside of you is gonna show up somehow. And I was just sweating like the whole night. I was nervous thinking about it. I'm like, how much do I have in my bank account? Am I able to just not come back, and do this and whatever? I'm like, I know God is with me, and like I had never felt so right about something. And it's disappointing for me to go, because you meet people. Like in the training was done at a different place too, so I got used to working with those people and the team that they had. But then, like, okay, your training is done, so you go to your official location now. And it was like a complete shock to me, because you get used to these people for a month and a half, the team, the settings and all of that, and now you're starting in a different place with different people. And I didn't. I was like, this is not me. And I got ready that morning, and I was like, I am not doing this. And I was like, everybody can look at it from the outside and think, can you believe she just started this and now she's leaving? Can you believe she did that? She made us pay for training. But I was thinking to myself, you know how you have conversations. I went to training, but I was working. So it's not like it was a paid training, and I was helping and working every single day too. And coming home extremely tired too, because it's a lot of physical work. So it's like you kind of like have this conversation. I'm like, everybody's gonna hate me in that place. They're gonna think so much of it. But at the end of the day, the main thing about everything that I'm saying is this: you have to take care of yourself, okay? People will always have an opinion. And a lot of the times people criticize stuff and then they copy exactly what you do, because you know what I mean? Like, you're not an idiot, you're a professional person, with your head straight. And if you're making the best decision for you at the moment, you just have to take care of that. And I remember reaching out to the supervisor. I said, I am so sorry about this, but I I don't know exactly what I said, but I, basically told her what that I was not gonna come back, and I was willing. If she was going to let me, I was willing to do the 2 weeks, but you know, it didn't work out like that, right? And I was like, here's my resignation letter. It is not for me. And then this is how crazy my life is sometimes. And then I went on, looking for places to work, right? I knew I was gonna be okay for a couple months, but I still, God just, He's like, okay, that didn't work. Okay, let's do the next. Like, cause God is always there, right? And like I said, I could have just worked on my business more and maybe put more time into it, but I just checked the classifieds, and then I sent resumes out, and then within I'm telling you, when God wants you to do something, He opens the way, and you are the child of God. You think He's just gonna leave you like just be? He wants you to. He's gonna take care of you no matter what. So I remember I sent a couple of resumes that day and went to the studio and did my thing at the studio. And then I started getting emails. Hey, can we do an interview? Can we do this and the other? And I so we went back on a Monday. I told them I was not gonna continue. And then Tuesday, I had that conversation. Then I went to the studio after I sent out resumes, and then I did a couple interviews through Zoom on that Wednesday, and I got a job offer by Friday, and I started that Monday. So within 4 days of leaving the other place, I started something right away. And it was so crazy because the place that I found, it was right across from me. In the same building that I always said to myself, what? I wonder if I could just, this is so crazy how you, I always look at this building right across my house and I will be like, oh, I wonder what they do there. Oh man, if I could just have a job right across there so I can just not even move my car and just cross the street to my work. And that is exactly what happened. I mean, it happened. I moved a couple years ago, so it happened maybe 3 years after I got those, those feelings. If I could just cross the street and go to that building and work in like an office or something. And that place, when they called me, and we did the Zoom, and I said, and I Googled the place, and I'm like, oh wow, they're right there. Like I come up, I just cross the street and go to work. Just just what I thought. And it was so crazy. And that's just how it is. Like a lot of the times we think, that opportunities are just gonna show up in our laps. And like I said before, yes, God can speak to somebody and they will reach out to you to work on something. I had I had that also happen to me many times, especially opportunities for my business. People will, reach out to me and say, hey, I'm planning this activity at this church, you want to do, it's for like a ladies conference, you want to do a fashion show or something that you can showcase your stuff with the church ladies. And then this, yes, that also happened. But what comes to that too is you always have to be ready, right? Because um opportunities also come, but you have to be ready. You don't want to be like, I'm gonna speak, based on that person, the talent to be taken away from you, given to somebody who can multiply and do more with it. And you always have to be ready when the opportunity comes. So do the prep work, work on that. And also, if when you are frustrated about something, you have to pray about it. I remember I couldn't get myself to like continue with that place. I'm like, there's no way I'm working. I don't want to hear things like that anymore. I don't like I was sweating that whole night, and that was like my own body like talking to me. It's so strange. I'm like, what is going on with me? I've been, you get that pressure in your belly and you're just like so nervous. And I was like, I came back that first day too. I'm like, I am exhausted. And there were so many things that, that I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then like I told you guys, like 4 days after that, I started the new place right across where I work. And I was like, man, that's just amazing to me. How God takes care of you no matter what. Like people can say, wow, she quit that job, went for training, and look at her quitting now. Like, take care of yourself. Okay, people will always have an opinion. That's something you cannot take that away from people. So if they want to think whatever they want to think, let them think. So the other thing that I have to say before I'm running out of time here is that, this is your life. Okay, you don't want to be complaining about something forever. If something is not, you know, if something you want to change, like I told you about my nails, I'm like, I don't like my nails. I want to do something about it, right? So, as little as that is, a little effort, right? And this is also speaking to me. I'm like, I should start working out again because I know I feel so much better. It helps me lose weight. It's just, if I could just do it, let's start with 30 minutes out of my day. I mean, 30 minutes is nothing. So, I'm like, I'm walking more now, and I'm looking to get equipment. And I'm like, I can just do this. So you have to don't feel frustrated. Everything is possible and you can change stuff, but don't think, you know, the Bible, the verse says, you don't have because you don't ask. And people will be like, that doesn't mean that. That's not what he means. Because, people always want to look, in between the lines and say things like that. I feel like in the Bible it talks about asking God what is it that you need, right? Whatever you ask in Jesus' name, you know, I'll do it so that the Father can be glorified. Like all of that stuff is in the Bible. So what is it, like the other day I felt so frustrated. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like this, I'm working on something. I'm like, this is not for me. Like, when you just know something, like I know about that job, I'm like, this is not for me. What am I doing? I don't want to have this pressure anymore, this anxiety anymore. And had a conversation because there's always somebody who has, you have the power to change it, but there's always somebody that you can reach out who can help you make that decision for you when it comes to something, especially career wise. So I reached out and I spoke up and I said, I am dying here. Like, I have to do something, has to be done. And then an opportunity presented right away, because you think that people, like, a lot of the times we think that, like I said, and a job open comes up and people are gonna be like, in workplaces, oh, that's for you or something. A lot of the times they can say that, but you have to remember, we're living in a situation right now where everybody's looking for work, and a lot of people are just, they're looking out. First of all, they're looking out for themselves or family members. So if they can get a job for a family member first, they're gonna, push that first, of course. But if you see an opportunity that's something that you want to do, speak up, okay, and reach out. And you have to do something about it. Don't live your life frustrated about things that you can change, okay? Because even if it's something that you don't like, but you have to do, God still will give you that comfort in knowing that, I know you don't want that. I'm talking to myself. I know you don't want to work out, but if we do it together, right? If you put the effort, at least, start 3 days a week and then 5 days a week, you can accomplish so much from it. And that will give you that, that will make sense to you, and God will give you the peace for it, and then He will give you the ability to continue it. It could be anything, not just, and of course, not just working. It could be anything, taking care of somebody, or having a long commute to work. He will give you the comfort. If it's something that He wants you to do, He will give you that same comfort to know that this is where He wants you to do at the moment. This is where He wants you right now. Okay? And if it happens to be something like what happened to me, you will know 100%. Okay? You will know, and stop trying to guess everybody's opinion. What do you think? I just started this job. I went to training. Now I hate it. I should quit, right? Nobody's gonna agree with something like that. People are gonna say, I would never do something like that. That's crazy. Because they will never, because that's not them. Okay, that is not them. They will never do something like that. A lot of people are so concerned about what other people think of them, right? So they're willing to just sacrifice their well-being and mental health and continue doing something that they know they don't like doing, because they're like, oh, those people across the street, they're gonna say, oh, she quit again. Like, what's happening with her? Like, this is your life, okay? This is your life, and it could take you sweating up the entire night and being all anxious about something to show up the next morning about a job that you just don't want to be in. And you're still going to be so concerned about what other people think of you. You have to take care of yourself, right? And walk by faith and ask God what it is that you want, and pray about it and wait, and, take action and wait, because faith without works is dead. So you do your part and God will take care of you. So that is my message, guys, for tonight. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Come back for more. God bless everybody. Have a good day. A good night. God bless.